Alright, so let's get on with finishing this piece up. Yeah, let's start by scaling this piece up. It's not quite to scale with the reference. So just convert that border to poly and then just grow that out. And just make sure you're in local and just scale that up a bit. You're just going to check this curve just by dragging this down a bit and adjust it accordingly. So that looks about right, so we'll just delete that for the time being, now that we've sorted the curve out. And we just keep on poly pushing really. Although this topology we're cutting in is not the cleanest at the moment, basically just cutting in to make the shape, and we can just clean up later. Let me just double check the curve again. Just add that vert in there just to quad it up. I'm quite happy with the size of the holes on this piece, and the reference are a bit bigger, so I'm just going to go in and fix that up. If you haven't closed Max since, then you can paste in the symmetries from before. And we'll just bridge these up, just to get the flat surface back again. Now that we know it's flat, we'll just re-add them in. Yeah, try it with a 10-sided cylinder this time. We'll just quad up all these edges. We're just going to leave an end gun at the top, because with cylindrical stuff it will near enough be the same if we add in the edge. So it shouldn't cause any problems at all. And just make sure you do the vertical scaling in view mode rather than local, and we'll just keep on changing. That's looking a bit cleaner than we had before as well. It's looking pretty much spot on now, so that's all good. So we'll just re-collapse that down, attach the middle bit, and then add the turbo sweeper on top to finish. And just spotted a bit of an error on this bit, probably from scaling we did earlier. So I'll just fix this piece up. Basically just did the copy, then invert selection and delete the rest, and then we'll just make a few copies of this piece. We're utilising the local coordinates. So we'll just stack these rings up and it should be back to normal. Cool, so after we reattach them, it looks as good as new. Spotted this was a little wonky as well, so I'll just fix that up quickly. The lip we made around the outside is a little bit too big, so just closing that off a little bit. You need to create a little button here, so we're just adding that extra vertex in to create an 8-sided border so we can cut in the hole easily. So we'll just do the 8-sided spline there. And then we'll just trace round as usual with the snap tool on. So we don't particularly need that inset, so we'll just get rid of it. And then just connect up the corners. Chamfer the border for extra edge and just scale it out. And just cap and extrude and scale for the bevel. And just add an edge loops as usual. Just move it up a little bit and just scale it out a little bit as well. We're just going to use the extrude again to give it some thickness. It caused a little bit of problem on the bottom, so I think we're just going to drag it down manually. As long as you have a fairly good eye for judging 90-degree angles, then it should be fine. Yeah, it all looks a bit messy at the moment, that's because we don't have any edge loops on. The edge around here is fairly loose, so we're just going to leave the edge loop a little bit away. Just trying to make this angle completely flat to match the reference. So you have a bit of a dip at the moment. Should have converted one of these to vertex, but I forgot. So we'll just try and figure out which one's which. I just got annoyed and just decided to weld them up, and then we're just cutting the edges ourselves. And we just keep on going round and keep on adding ed loops, really. Used to be a smooth corner here, so we just create the diagonal on the edge rather than continuing the loops. Not ideal topology, looping it back on itself there, but kind of works for this piece, so we'll just go with it. I was gonna like quad that piece up, but essentially it doesn't cause any problems leaving the little end on there, so it's on a flat surface in a flat area, so it'll be fine. Just try and clean this up a little bit. We're nearly getting there. Instead of doing this part again that we've already done the other side, we're just going to delete all this bit and then just use what we've already done. So just delete the right side that we don't need and then select everything on this side that we want to copy over. If you press Q, you can go to the selection mode rather than the move tool, and then you can select stuff without worrying about moving stuff. So just do that as a copy, invert, delete. That leaves our pivot point, so we can just do a normal mirror. But we didn't actually set our pivot up properly, so I'll just use the mirror, the symmetry there, and then we just collapse it and delete the half that we don't need, leaving us with the other side in the correct place. There's always little workarounds for little problems like that. We'll just do a small weld just to make sure we weld off all the vets. Just use that middle ring just to start making the ignition keyhole area, and then just delete it once we've got our shape. Then we'll just attach that so we can work on it as a separate object. We need a few more segments, so we'll just do 2 iterations of tail smooth and collapse. Just basically need to cut in some holes into the cylindrical shape, so we need the verts to support that. Again, just using the extrude moving scale tools just to create the shape. Just going to scale this bit out a bit. Basically select the area we want to make the hole and then just grow the selection. And then we use this as our edge loop. Just add a little chamfer there. And we just bridge that up and then add in the loops again. Yeah, just get that welded up. if you ever need to scale in, usually have to do it on the vertices rather than edges. So we're just going to, there's still a little bit of pinching, so we're just going to try and sort that out. Basically, because we've got a big, quite a long diagonal on these corners. So just going to try a few methods. So just going to make planar them for a little bit, just to smooth them out a little bit. Then ideally we're just adding a new edge loop. This should make the distance of the edge loops a bit more even. And that way making the polys a bit more evenly distributed. It should cut out any pinching that we do have. Yeah, that's very much pinch through. Yeah, we didn't want to do that again, so we'll just cut it in half and use symmetry. Just make sure you adjust the pivot first, because we did copy it from the original shape. And because of that, the pivot point's a bit messed up. But the symmetry works all fine, so that's all good. Just need to adjust it a little bit. Now we have 2 holes. And we'll just get on with the keyhole that goes in the middle. Just create the cylinder on the edge there, essentially just make it lined up straight away without us having to do any rotation at all. I think we're just using a 16-sided, which is the minimum for this shape. We're on a 12 actually. It's a 12-sided, would leave 3 edges per corner, which is the absolute minimum for this keyhole shape. So just using a rectangle spline just as a reference. Just make it isolated there so we don't start snapping it onto any other random bits of geometry which we were before. We'll just do a quick bridge there, basically just gives us our straight edge. And then we can just cut in the topology that we want. Forgot I didn't sort out the triangles on these corners. So we're just cutting, so it gives us our 3 edges for the hard edge. And same again on the bottom. And we're just cutting our edge loop manually. And weld up the corners. And we'll just cap and extrude the middle. And just add the final edge loop. And I think that's pretty much it for our keyhole. Just give that a little bit of rotation. And we just need to create this little button here as well. So the same method again, we'll just shift drag this in a bit. Saves us doing any lining up. We were in the squashed on non-uniform scale mode there. The reason why I was messing up. So scale in a little bit and then just extrude out. So we'll just create some kind of little domed button here. And then just quad off the top piece. And just remember to delete the ring when you're done, just to separate the pieces. I think that is pretty much done for steering column for what we're going to do at the moment. We'll probably finish it off much later once we actually realise what it's being connected to and whatnot. So now we've finished, we'll just go through and make sure everything's named properly. Just to attach a few of these bits together, save having loads of objects. And just make sure we reset all the X-forms as well. Cool, I think that's pretty much sorted. See you in the next bit.